All right, welcome back to another edition of the Business Freedom Podcast. We're going to get into kind of a part two of the previous episode. I had the privilege of attending a workshop recently. And on the last episode, I dug into three guys that I connected with and just three amazing sort of business wisdoms that I took away. So make sure you catch that episode. In this group, it's a coach that coaches coaches. So it's not a real estate related group. I'm in the highest level of that group. It's called Boardroom. And we had the honor to have some teaching by a guy called Alex Hormozi. He does a podcast called Gym Secrets. And I met Alex a year ago, November. I'm recording this podcast, November 2019. I met him in November 2018, where he attended the same event and I sat next to him. And he has built early 2017 is when he started his journey, and it was not a good situation. He had a business partner that took, I think it was $212,000, cleared their accounts. They were down to nothing, and they launched this business called Gym Launch. They help gym owners. So different market than real estate, but really, really similar. So really like small, struggling gym owners. And this year, he'll take home 15 million of profit, like super humble guy. Only shared his numbers. He actually doubled the top line of the business and didn't take home any additional profit. So he did 14.8 million of profit in 2018 and 14.8 roughly he'll do this year. And just a really humble guy that was willing to share all of his mistakes with us. And probably the biggest takeaway, he was sharing with us the mistakes he made in 2019. And here's a guy, by all measures, he had his toughest year in business ever. And he was a gym owner at one point. So this is sort of the same journey that I did as a real estate agent, turned real estate team leader, turned real estate team owner, and all the struggles of all of that. Now I'm teaching others to do the same thing. So he was a gym owner struggling, figured that out. And then now he's teaching other gym owners how to do the same thing. So I really relate with him and his journey. Probably the most powerful thing he shared, and I'm looking at like 6 pages of notes. He talked about the journey to get to 1 million, then the journey from 1 to 3 million, and then the journey from 3 to 10 million. And it's same thing I talked about in the last podcast episode. It's this shift from you're all sales and marketing, you're all front stage, to at some point you have to make sure that the thing you're delivering is epically world-class. I don't think he used those terms. How can we consistently fulfill on the promises that we're making? And that most of us are better at sales and marketing than fulfillment. And the bottleneck is not sales and marketing, it's the delivery of the promises you're making. And I just thought that was it was helpful for me to hear another guy that said, at some point, you've got to make this shift to making sure the thing you deliver, helping a buyer and helping a seller, make sure that thing is ridiculously awesome. And, onboarding new clients in a real estate team, how do you onboard a new buyer? Like when you think of a buyer, let's say $300,000 property, roughly a $10,000 commission check, that buyer is going to give you $10,000 to help them. How do you actually make them feel like they made a good decision? Like, what are your touch points? Are you having a client care person call them every day? Are you sending bombs, welcome them to the family? Do you have a detailed process document, a guide that or buyer a roadmap? What are you using to lay that process out? So I thought that was pretty cool. Just hearing it from multiple people that you have to build the back end of your operation so that it consistently delivers on the promises you're making in sales and doesn't rely on you doing all of it. The last thing Alex Hormozi covered was focus and patience. And focus meaning like, what's the next thing I need to work on in my business to get me to the next level of the business? And this is the discipline required to build a real business. And most of us don't have it. In Real Estate B School, we probably have like 36. We have 4 drivers, 3 accelerators per driver, 3 tools per accelerator, about 36 sort of core systems that a new member has to work on and build out in their business. I call it a 3-year journey, 1-year commitment once you confirm fit in the pilot program. And if you're interested in the pilot program, go to Real Estate B School, and there's info about what the pilot program is and to see if you qualify. Typically, it's someone that's already achieved a traditional level of success. You're running a small team, 300,000 to 500,000 GCI in that ballpark. And so what's the next thing you need to work on so the business runs more sustainably, runs, more profitably, runs in a way where you can spend your time growing the business and you're often the bottleneck in your business. And we have to guard against being spread too thin. If you're in production, you're building a real estate team, you've got to make the moves to be able to leverage yourself at least out of parts of production so that you can build the systems and empower and train people to do the things that are lower dollar productive, still super important, but lower dollar productive. And then the second part was patience. And this, I've experienced both the focus and patience, the pain of not being focused and the pain of not being patient. And really in the last couple of years, I feel like I've been more focused and more patient and looking at a long game in both of my businesses versus this constant, not getting there fast enough. So the patience to view this journey, this business growth journey as a 20-year journey versus I've got to get this, I've got to be here by this time, or I'm just going to throw my hands in the air and give it up. We're all on a journey and we need to make sure we're focusing on the right things and being really intentional where we will get the growth if you work on the next right thing. So in Real Estate B School, we say the next right thing, right? 36 things you could work on. Be honest with yourself. What's the next right thing to work on? Even if it's not the next most sexy thing, it's just the next right thing that we work on together to move your business forward. Maybe it's just to set up a stronger foundation for you to be able to scale. And maybe growth isn't always measured in terms of number of homes sold, but more foundationally solid systems in place. So we measure growth in many ways: time, money, stress. What we talk about, all of that. Also, the systems in your business that are running at peak efficiency. 10 out of 10, we want every one of those 36 systems to run your business. And that was it. I mean, it was just cool to hear a guy that had sort of started his now business called Gym Launch, where he, probably a $50 million business. I think he said his margins were 30%. And so he's running a $50 million business. And he learned how to do it from the trenches, and now he teaches others how to do it. So really cool to hear just from a humble standpoint what's required to do it. Another mistake he mentioned, of course, he talked about hiring, better and fewer and have them work harder. We've seen that play out in our real estate team. Most real estate teams, if you look at it, it's just a loose collection of agents, and they're not really connected by a culture, by a cadence, by any kind of accountability whatsoever. So I really related with that as well. Better and fewer and have them work harder. And then I want to give you one more nugget. And don't replace yourself as marketer. You need more of an operator in the marketing position. And I related with that as well. You're going to be the best marketer in your real estate business. You need just an administrator. Typically that first administrative hire is your marketing coordinator, your listing client care, and your closing coordinator. So they can handle the administration of the marketing. Typically there's not some creative person or full-time, CMO type that's needed in a real estate team. So I really related with that as well. And that is it, my friends. Hopefully there's some value in there. The focus to do the next right thing, and the patience to see this business building process as a process, so you don't constantly get frustrated with yourself for not making more progress. Look at this thing as a 20-year game, versus a short game. And if you have any questions about where your journey is and if you're on the right path, if you're scaling your team and you're just not doing it on any kind of plan that's proven, a roadmap that others have followed and gotten results that you want to get, really be clear that you want to make sure you have a plan in place and you're following a roadmap and you have systems, real tangible systems that you could swipe and deploy into your business. If you don't have all of that, yet you want to head down this path, you've already achieved traditional success in our industry, whether you're running a small team or a large team. All we have to offer you is a conversation about your business. Just go to realestatebschool.com, check out our pilot program. If you qualify, there's 30 days of free coaching available to you. And we'll help you build a 3-year vision, a 1-year plan. We'll break that thing down into what we call a 90-day world, so you can get clarity on where you are and a vision of where you're going. So that's how we do it, right? We get the leverage of where we want to go, and we combine that with the things you're working on today, so you'll have something different in the future. Be good. We'll talk to you later.